Greetings and welcome back to Can We Really Talk in our third installment of Community Policing.
We are currently reaching out to young people in our community between the ages of 16 and 25 to talk about current social issues and how they may be affecting your life.
If you are interested in being a part of this podcast, please contact us at canwereallytalknc@gmail.com.
Please like and subscribe, and thank you again for watching.
All right, so this next one is a scaled question. The scale is 1 to 5, with 1 being absolutely not, and 5 being everybody, absolutely yes, everybody. The question is, do you believe that all people are treated equal under the law? What number would you pick and why?
What I want to be able to say would be 5, but in reality, I feel like it's much closer to 1. At the very best, 2. I feel like we are right now as a society, we are very, very biased. There is the consistent people constantly think about where can they define a person, where can they fence them in, be it race and gender, sexual orientation, religion, ethnic group, even where they're coming from. I mean, up here in the foothills, I keep hearing people talking about the flatlanders, people from the Bay Area or from Sacramento. We're pushing them apart. We're building fences in between us and them. And I feel like since the law is administered by people, and people are constantly influenced by their own biases, whether or not they're aware of them, I don't feel like people get treated equally, and not at all.
So how when you do a multiplication and it's if it's less than 1 and you multiply it, it progressively gets smaller. That's the direction I'm going to go with this. Whatever number you pick along the decimal number line of equality under the law, it progressively magnifies itself. Kind of like Ehud was saying, at the end of the day, one thing we'll never escape is justice, as whomever is defining it, is administered by people. And people are fallible and will make mistakes. And they bring with them a lot of biases and experiences. And there is a lot more to law when you ask the question about equal under the law than law enforcement. So I don't know if I'm ready to put a number on it, because someone might think that I am saying it related to a certain sector of the law. And I would agree with Ehud that as a general experience and observation, that there's a lot of disparity in how people are treated when you apply it to some certain characteristic of whatever that might be, if you were to trace those from start to finish. So I don't think it's near as perfect as we want it, or it should be.
And I do want to clarify that question was not specific to law enforcement or police. That was just law in general, so courts, everything.
Well, if I can even go a little bit further, Jamal, I think it's really interesting when you start looking at the law. I mean, the law is the system, right? And the system, if we want to look at school districting and how those lines are drawn, or we want to talk about the court system or enforcement of laws on the streets. I mean, there's so many areas, right? And so it's so easy to come back to just thinking about how I've experienced the enforcement of law as an individual. And most people's experience is through red and blue lights, but there's a whole lot that goes way beyond that. Legislatures and bodies make law, and it goes far beyond the penal institution component of law. So I think that's a really interesting question. We could probably do a whole session just on that and what our experiences are and how that manifests itself here and across the country and globe.
Watch out, we may take you up on that.
I was just about to say that might be another podcast you might have to sit in on.
So let's start with the Constitution, because that's where the law starts from. Yes. Right? We still in 2021 can't seem to pass an equal rights amendment making our Constitution embrace women, the people who none of us would be here without. Our Constitution lawfully does not include equal rights under the law for the bodies that birthed our civilization. So when you ask a question that is so structured with all inclusives of everybody under the law, I need a 0 on the scale. I can't even give it a 1. You know, as a transgender man, I live in a country that doesn't want me legally, that actively passes laws against me and will not give me a passport to leave. It's ridiculous. I can't, I mean, so is everyone treated equally under the law? No. You know, same gender loving people, we went out of our way to pass a Defense of Marriage Act to lawfully prevent and vilify their love for one another. So is my question is anyone treated equally under the law? As a deputy, I had officer discretion. Right? Now, I certainly believed in the soul of my being that every time I used that officer discretion, I was doing so ethically, logically, compassionately, within my duty to serve the people I was sworn to serve. But can I sit here and tell you I did it without unconscious bias? No. So was it fair under the law? Did I really apply the law equally to everybody? No, because I know there's stuff operating in my consciousness that I don't even know is there until I know it's there, until it shows up in all of its ugliness. And then I know it's there, but otherwise it's just passively operating because I've been conditioned for it to operate. You know, so, you know, we have private prisons where we have lawsuits that demonstrate their pipelines for profit. So, yeah, my question is the law ever applied equally to anyone? I don't think so. I don't even know if it can be, if I'm telling the truth. I would, you know, that's in my unicorn land of imagination. It may be some moment in time it will happen. But I think as long as we're people, I don't even know that it's possible. I think we can get closer than we are for sure. But for a question that absolute, I don't think so.
And I think the question, the word equal has some potential problems. Going back to your example, and I just relate it to the law enforcement example. There may be other mitigating factors somewhere, even if you took the individual bias out, if you could, which I would agree with what I think you were saying is that you probably can't because we're dealing with people. There may be times when two situations that appear to be all the same might have to be handled different because of extraneous circumstances. So it's an interesting question to ponder.
I don't know if we'd ever be able to perfectly apply the law equally to everyone, but we can definitely try to do better than we're doing right now.
Yeah, I'd say like I don't know exactly my number, low, 1, 2, somewhere in there. I mean, like I think for years we've been able to see if you have enough money, it's really hard to pin a charge on you. Like you get a good enough lawyer and you can get out of it. And if you're stuck with a public defender, it's much more difficult, even though they try their best, right? And I know for myself, like I've been pulled over 5 times. I've received 1 ticket, and I've never been afraid when I'm pulled over. So, and sometimes I get pulled over and somebody recognizes my name and I shouldn't be saying this, should I? Because I hope nobody listens and then like changes it for me. But it's not fair, right? It's not fair. If I'm breaking the law, I should be judged by the law. And yet people have seen fit to give me, a pass. And that's not fair. I mean, if we're going with pure fairness, unless they're giving everybody a pass, maybe they are. I don't know. I'm not in the police car to see that, or the highway patrol car to see that. But I knew I was in the wrong when I did it, and it would have been just for me to be punished, but I was not punished under the law. So I don't know. I mean, my hope is that we will be fair. And I know fair is really hard to hit. And I know it's really hard with our own biases. And if we're in conflict with people a lot, it becomes even more difficult. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope we get better at it, because this is not good. I don't like living in a world where there's so much contention between the parts of our society which are supposed to write the laws or enact the laws or carry out the law, enforce the law, or judge when there's been a break in the law, and people. It's really sad that we're in a world where there is so much conflict, and I hope we can do better. I hope we can, because we can't just keep going on like this. This is miserable.
Mm-hmm. I want to break the flow here a little bit and tell a story. I don't think you've ever heard this story, but this was in 1986 or 7. Do you remember that movie that came out? It's Anne of God. Was it Anne of God?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever year that was when that movie came out, I was going to the movies to see that with some friends. At the time, I was in a relationship with a man who was a Vietnam veteran and who had a problem with cocaine, and when he wasn't using cocaine, he was using marijuana. And I wanted to go to the movie so bad that I wanted him to babysit. So, I mean, when he was at my house, he didn't use cocaine. He went on binges, and then he would come back and sort of crash. And so I took his marijuana and put it in my purse so that he wouldn't be smoking marijuana while he was babysitting my kids. One of my values is truth telling, right? I like to tell the truth about myself. So here I was in a car that the registration was, it wasn't registered. Why? Because I had all kinds of unpaid parking tickets, so I couldn't get my car registered. It had a side view mirror was gone. It had a broken, like one of the brake lights didn't work. And I had no insurance. That was the situation. So I'm in my car. I live in Redwood City. I lived in East Palo Alto, but the movie was in Redwood City. So I'm in Redwood City. driving down El Camino, and I get pulled over by the highway patrol,
Oh,
which was weird. Like, it was on the street. It was, it was not on the highway, but anyway, I get pulled over. It's a woman. And she starts asking me for all the stuff she's supposed to ask me for. And I'm like fumbling, trying to pretend like I'm looking, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things wrong, so many things wrong. And at some point, I started looking through my purse, like as if I'm looking for, I don't know if it was a driver's license or some document. And she's helping me, because by now it's dark. She's helping me, and she's shining her light into my flipping bag. And what is there except a bag of marijuana? I was through, like, I just started bawling. And I'm not one of those people who cries, I'm not a damsel in distress kind of person, but I think the overload of what shape my life was in at this point, it was like I couldn't hold it anymore. I worked at the time at a battered women's shelter. Anyway, she said, calm down, calm down. Well, first she says, is that marijuana? I'm like, yeah, I took it because I didn't want this guy smoking it while he's babysitting my kids. Literally, she took the bag, walked over to somebody's yard, threw it in the dirt, and then took her foot and swirled it around, came back and said, it never existed. It's gone. Calm down. It's gone. And then she began to tell me all this stuff. You need to dump this dude. You need to get your car together. You need to get your shit together. Like a really nice woman. And that agency you work for, it's a great organization. I'm not going to write you up on anything today, but you have to get this shit together. And she let me go. And that was it. He was gone. I got rid of him. I got my stuff in order. It was like, and people, I tell that story, and I think, and other people have said, that was an angel, right? Because it was like, it felt like it was an angel. And I just want to bring that in, to bring the human element in, because yeah, she gave me a break and helped me to turn a corner in my life that I needed to turn. And I always want us to include those stories where people acted in a way that doesn't fit some stereotype. Yeah, I'm grateful to her to this day. So I don't know, you know, I often think, oh God, people are gonna think worse of you. Whatever. Like I'm a human being on a path to enlightenment and wholeness, and I get to make mistakes, and I have made mistakes. So I just wanted to bring that story here to say,
It's
well,
okay. I think Reverend Rafe would probably know this, but a little enlightenment for the group that might watch this. In our profession, we would call that stomping it out, stomping it into the dirt. Oh, what did you do with that? We just stomped it into the dirt. So it raises the question for me, should we be striving for equal treatment under the law, or should we be striving for just treatment under the law?
Beautiful.
and compassion, the word compassion has come to my mind in this conversation.
But that's hard to know because you're feeling on that night, and that officer's feeling that night might not align with someone other's feeling about that night. And so that's where it gets messy.
Yes, it does get messy. I know that. But I say that in part for whoever might watch this. I want them to know that here's one Black person who had one compassionate, I've had more than one, but that was, you know, supreme moment of someone exercising discretion in my favor.
I think I find it interesting that the way we present an event really shapes the way we feel about it. I mean, I could tell a story about a young lady in an unregistered car with unpaid parking tickets gets pulled over. She doesn't even have insurance, and she has marijuana, which was illegal at the time.
Way,
And
way.
and the cop just let her go. You know, it's like, so it's amazing how much the context of the story and what it is that was really behind it and how much it affected you changes the whole narrative. And I think this is something that people need to be aware of, that there's a lot that we don't see, a lot that we don't know. And I agree that maybe rather than fair, we should be aiming more for a combination of just and compassionate. And rather than kicking people while they're already down, you know, giving them a hand, kind of lifting them up.
My sister is homeless on the streets of San Francisco and has been for many, many, many years. And she has told me stories. She's a great person because she is very real, talking about Coy. And she will tell you, I've met dirty cops, and I've met cops who have gone out of their way for me. She said, there have been times when I was sick as a dog, and some police officer would come that I knew and bring me NyQuil, like that he went to the store and got himself. Like, this is the failure to nuance this, you know, this world we live. We hold it like that. So she doesn't have a polemic. She doesn't have a political stance. Hers is, look, I've seen them all. I've seen it all. So you're not going to get me to totally demonize the police, and you're not going to get me to totally say that it's all good, because I've seen it all. And, you know, when it's someone like that, that you know is encountering law enforcement all the time, because she's out there and they're being told to move them, you know, it's, we have to be able to hold the complexity, I think.
Yeah, I've never, like, I've done some ride-alongs, and I've been so impressed with the ability and the moment that the police have, or law enforcement has, in a person's life to speak to them in a way that very few other people in the world have that opportunity to. And it's a pretty precious gift that we entrust to them. And it must be hard to discharge that gift day after day and to do it compassionately and wisely. I mean, I saw, you know, I've seen just the, you know, the, like, okay, here's where the law was broken. Here's what's wrong. Now let's talk about your life and why you're at this place right now, and how we can, you know, find a new way or a better way or whatever. And that's, I mean, it's tremendously, at least from my perspective, pastoral, right? Like, how can we find, how can this intersection of our lives lead us to something better? And what a tremendous opportunity to have, but I can't imagine the toll it takes on a person to do that day after day too.
And we have drifted from the equal under, I mean, we have drifted back to police.
Yeah,
which is interesting. I think it's interesting that that's where the energy wants to go. Is there any more that anyone wants to say about the bigger question about equal under the law, or Ray?
So it's interesting. The question is framed as equal, and yet our conversation went to justice, which, if we understand the meaning of justice, it's actually about equity, which is very different than equality. And most of us, when we socially, we hear the term justice, we think about retribution. We don't think about equity. We think about being punished. And so, you know, if we go by the social standard of justice rather than the equity meaning of justice, one of the questions I ask people all the time is, your definition of justice, as retribution, do you really want justice for everything that you've done in your life, whether you've been caught or not? If you want justice for everybody else, then you have to accept justice for you.
Mm, wow.
You know, do I want equity for myself? Yes. Do I want justice in the way that we socially play? Hell no. Not no, but oh no, hell no. Because I know what I've done.
Right.
That I
That
haven't been
really,
caught
that's
doing.
amazing.
I'll say what's good is that there's no better place to make a difference um, than right here where we live. And there's nobody that you can control other than yourself. So if you want to be the change that you want to see in the world, start with yourself. If we can encourage others to do that, then we can get there. I think Michael Jackson had a song about that.
Mhm.
Looking at the man in the mirror.
Yeah, I'm tremendously encouraged tonight just by like my hope and my belief is that the way we're going to get to some kind of meaningful change is due to relationships, like caring for each other and loving each other. I mean, that's, it's easy to villainize someone who is not, you're not in relationship with, but if we can really know and love each other, um, I think we can really get somewhere great together. And several of you already knew and cared for, and now I've met all of you, and it's just for me, I'm tremendously encouraged by this, by the work you're doing and the way you are engaging the difficulties in our community and our world, and I'm just really excited to be a partner with you in that and to be a friend.
Thank you, Seth.
This conversation has been beautiful. In the last few years, and especially in this last half a year or maybe a little more, it seems like every time we try to talk about one of these very, very painful issues, it immediately devolves into a shouting match and no one's willing to listen. To me, I feel like here we are, a group that's, I don't think anyone here knew everyone before today. I can say I only knew Alex and just a little bit Jamal. And I came with no idea who the people I was going to talk to would be and what kind of conversation this is going to be. And finding myself nearly in tears over the experiences of people I've never met in person tells me that in the end, we have a lot more in common than we see just by our knee-jerk reactions to situations. And I think maybe from conversations like this, if we can create ripples in the pond, spread it apart, give it to more people, maybe we can reach somewhere.
I'm going to set my timer because I'm a minister. I can talk wherever. This is good. One of our things is common ground. We are the common ground. Humanity is the common ground, and humanity born out of one substance, whether you call it God or whether you call it the kitchen sink or the quantum field, we're all made out of the same thing and we all contain it. And that's our common ground. And, I don't even agree with myself half the time. So why would I expect myself to agree with other people all the time? It's in the conversation, it's in the messiness of life. It is the hope. And, whoever's watching this, whenever they're watching it, they can't unhear everything they hear watching this. That's the beauty of this. We as a society broke to the point where we broke open. Now we can actually heal. The wound has been lanced. Messy as it is, it's beautiful.
Christine?
I was saying, oh boy, I'm like, did everybody go? I'll just say that I am intensely grateful that all of you were able to participate in this. I think it's been healing in many ways. And I really hope that it'll be healing for others that are able to watch this. And maybe just bring a little different point of view. Intensely grateful for all of you to even have this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think I'll just, my last thing that I'll offer is make sure no one's trying to say anything important to me. I have gratitude for the Buddhists for this short chant. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings everywhere be free.